It's only.
I feel like they.
Why you have to be mad?
Sorry, what was that?
Is he in Nashville? Am I close geographically?
They've
The
been cooking it
contracts.
up.
The contracts are coming in.
No one knows what he is. He's a big orange monster
What's
with
he?
googly eyes.
He's
and
a gritty.
Okay.
little.
The Florida League.
What do you think of Owen's bracket? Do you remember it?
It's hopeful.
It's Bread, and it's Dean, and it's the Bread Loves Hockey Podcast, episode 24, brought to you by Rich Chocolatey Ovaltine.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining us today. I'm rocking Flyers today. Dean's rocking his Krug jersey. That's one of my personal favorites. I love the alternate logo. The Spoke B is classic.
A free jersey over Christmas. That's the one behind me.
Chara.
Chara.
You hung it up, yeah. The Chara.
I didn't have a good spot for it, so it's hanging behind my mirror.
Hey, at
I
least
was like, I'll just put it somewhere so it can show up on the podcast.
yeah, at least the numbers are like present.
I put it up at Chara's height to be authentic.
Yeah, that's
That's where his numbers would be if he was standing in my room right now.
Oh my gosh, for our audio listeners, it's pretty much at like 7 feet is where it starts. If it's an 8-foot ceiling, yeah.
Yeah.
But it looks great. Not as wild as what I've got going on behind me, but
no.
I've just got such an assortment of NHL memorabilia.
Well, before we started recording, we talked about me moving my desk around, so maybe I can just turn 90 degrees so I'm facing away from that wall, and you can see.
Because that's where I normally have the Krug one hanging up, right?
Yeah, I got 3 jerseys hanging there. Well, 2 right now because I'm wearing one, and then Bergeron's right in front of me. So I can always see him.
And we're always thinking about him, too.
Yes.
He was.
Well, while we're talking about Bruins, you want to start off with Bruins news?
Yeah, let's do it. We haven't. I feel like we haven't started with anything Bruins related in a while.
We haven't talked about a lot of Bruins. We try to be good about not too much Bruins or Golden Knights, but
every once in a while.
Quickly, this happened last night. There were 2 big injuries in the Bruins game.
Yeah.
The biggest being Olmark. He tried to make a glove save like 2 minutes left in overtime, and just kind of stretched out for it. He made the save, and then just when he went down, he just didn't get back up.
Ugh.
And those are always like the scariest when it's a non-contact
Yeah.
injury. And like he did not skate off the ice. He got pushed the whole way and like was barely moving down the tunnel. So like it looks like a groin. I mean,
yeah,
which is really not what you want to see.
It's often if it's a non-contact down there, it's usually the groin, which usually doesn't mean a quick recovery or turnaround time.
Yeah, I mean the other thing with goalies is hips, but I feel like that's more like a drawn out over time. It's not like all of a sudden your hip goes out.
Yeah, that
a groin.
Maybe for if Yager was a goaltender.
Yeah. Once you hit your 50s, maybe it's different. I mean, luckily we have Swayman. I'm gonna guess they're gonna call up Brandon Bussey. I'm not sure, but I mean he looked good in preseason.
Yeah. He did. Like, he had that really nice save in preseason when we were looking for any scrap of NHL news we could get our hands on. But, I feel like that's good.
I mean, it could have been worse timing. Like, we have the All-Star break coming up soon.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
didn't happen in playoffs or right before playoffs. So that
we know what that's
could
like.
Be worse. Hate to see it. Atra got hurt the same game, and that one also a scary one because it didn't look like a lot of contact. He initiated the hit. It was like a shoulder. He led with his shoulder, and he just came out of it like holding his shoulder. Went down the tunnel, didn't return. Shoulder injuries also scare me, especially if you get surgery. It's like, was it like Tarasenko who had like 3 different surgeries? Like he had surgery, came back, like re-injured it or whatever. And then Carlo's been day to day, so not great.
And they didn't win that game either. I mean,
they lost.
It went to overtime, but
we got 2 loser points in back-to-backs.
Yeah.
the Avs, and then the Coyotes play the Golden Knights tomorrow. That's gonna be a win, though.
We'll see. We're playing the Avs tonight, so we might need a good kick in the pants if we don't win this one. I guess we'll see.
That's in Vegas, right?
No, actually, I believe it's in Colorado.
Because that was an 8 p.m. game.
Yeah, actually, it is a. Yeah, you're right. It is at 8 p.m. for you, 10 p.m. for me. But I feel like, yeah, it is in Colorado, but they still are having a late start.
Maybe they had some concert or something yesterday.
Could be, yeah.
Some late, I don't know. Weird scheduling stuff always happens.
Yeah. They don't have, or they have another team that plays. Oh yeah, the Nuggets, but that probably wouldn't. Unless the Nuggets had a matinee game on a weekday, which I don't think they usually do that.
Yeah, I have no idea why. Maybe it's like for Vegas to travel all the way to call it. Well, unless I don't know where they were the other night, but
they were in Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's not very far. I don't know. Well, doesn't matter. The other Bruins thing I wanted to talk about was there was a goalie interference. Well, there was a goal that got scored that the Bruins reviewed for goalie interference because they thought it shouldn't be a goal. And the referees decided that there was no goalie interference. Before I corrupt your thoughts, I want to know what you think after watching it.
Yeah, so I watched it for the first
just
time.
For reference, this happened a week and a half ago from when we're recording. So it was the Bruins Detroit game in Detroit. I forget the exact date, but just for those listening.
Yeah, so it was Bruins 2-1 lead, and so this tied it up for the Red Wings. Yeah, I watched it. I hadn't seen it initially. So I just watched it before we hopped on. And yeah, to me, it definitely looked like Rasmussen initiates the contact, then gets his stick in the way of Swayman's glove, which literally pushes it to the right, and then he can't get back in time because the puck zips past his glove to the left, and then the goal goes in, and he immediately pushes Rasmussen. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Swayman knew.
Yeah. So to me, I did think that they made the wrong call. It didn't really look like, because there was another defender, a Bruins defender in the area. Didn't really seem to me like there was enough contact with Rasmussen to make me think that it was incidental. I'm pretty positive that Rasmussen goes in there to get the cut out the eyes of Swayman, and he initiated contact with the pad, or sorry, not the pad, the catching hand, and yeah, should be.
And the other thing, once they reviewed it, they said the reason the ruling standed as a goal was because the player was outside the crease,
which isn't a thing.
No, because if the goalie's outside the crease, you can't just run him over. So,
yeah.
Obviously, Jack and Brick were having a field day, as you can imagine.
Oh, I'm sure.
But the reason I bring this up is because I actually think it was the right call, and even the Bruins fans that I follow on the internet that I normally we agree with, they thought it was interference. Obviously, Jack and Brick, they're always homers, but they were extra.
Oh yeah.
About this one, but the thing I saw was, we'll have the video up. I'm trying to see who the player is. I don't know who the Detroit player is. Looks like number 27. I can't read the name. Rasmussen, yeah. He's going to stick lift Carlo, and Carlo's gloved hand pushes Rasmussen's left glove, and then that pushes his stick forward. I mean, his stick was already in front of Swayman, but I think Carlo pushed Rasmussen's hand to move his stick into the glove. But this review also took 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, I heard that.
This was one of the longest reviews in a while. But I just thought I was going crazy because I can see it being a goal still. But then when the refs gave the reasoning was completely different than anything
that you were thinking of.
What I was thinking.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Isn't there like a certain level of like responsibility for like maintaining your stick as like the attacking like if you get your stick nudged, like isn't part of it like you kind of have to have control of it? Like you can't just be like, limp dicking the stick out there. And
Sure. Well, because like
I'm not saying that's what he
people,
did, but
yeah, I mean, there's been times where someone gets high sticked because the player lifts another player's stick into their own face.
yeah, right.
And it's like that's not just
It,
because you lifted their stick into your face doesn't mean they high sticked you.
exactly, yeah. That's kind of
So
why,
I'm
yeah,
kind of
what I'm
seeing the same
getting
thing.
at.
Just because you hit his stick into your goalie doesn't mean he interfered. But no, it was interesting. Um, and while we're on the topic of goal controversies, do you want to just go through the Chris Kreider one too?
Yeah, I think so. That one, so uh, Rangers score a goal against Chicago. Pucks puck I think comes over the back of the net or it comes in front of the net, and then Kreider sort of shifts his
He he
skates.
hockey he hockey stops into the puck, so the
It,
puck's just kind of
yeah,
like bouncing on the goal line, and Kreider, um, like yeah, so the puck's bouncing there, and Kreider comes in, turns his skates, and slides into the puck, and scores.
to cause the puck to go over the line.
Yeah, and after reviewing, it was a good goal because there was no distinct kicking motion because he didn't. Initiated his stop and slid into the puck, and during that time, he didn't like adjust the movement of his skates. Like, did he know what he was doing? Absolutely. He didn't even celebrate the goal. Like, he
Yeah,
assumed it was going to be no goal. Mrazek was very emphatic about it not being a goal right after it went in too.
yeah,
And like normally, like goalies' reactions, you can tell whether like same with like a high stick or whatever. Like they can normally tell and be a good judge of if it's a goal or not.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, so again, I think technically, based on the rules, this is a goal, but it brings up the discussion of should it be and should the rules change? Because there's such a gray area when it comes to this stuff.
So to me, I think it was a good goal as well. And so I watched the scouting the refs video on this one, and they brought up the rule book. So I'll just read the section of the goals as far as kicking the puck, what's allowed. So this is 42.94, like dash 4. A goal will be allowed when a puck enters the goal after deflecting off an attacking player's skate or deflects off his skate while he is in the process of stopping. So that's the rationale there, and that's why they call it a good goal. I personally think this is fine. I kind of think as long as you're not propelling the puck like exclusively by kicking it, it should be allowed. Like I think it's a different type of play. It's a play that you have to be aware of. So to me, I think that the rule doesn't need to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the origin of the rule is so that players aren't lifting their skates and trying to kick like waist high pucks into the net because that's obviously like a safety hazard.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the rule change suggestions I heard that I liked was just as long as the skate stays on the ice, it's black and white. Well, theoretically, um, you can review it and see if like, you can do whatever kicking motion you want, but if that blade leaves the ice, it's not a goal. And again, so that's as far as safety goes, that fixes the issue with that, and it should be easier to see as opposed to knowing what a distinct kicking motion is. And then the
Yeah.
other thing I heard was just if they're outside the crease, as long as you're not in the blue paint, you can do it. Like you can have a distinct kicking motion. But I like the skate thing on the ice one. I mean, because obviously it takes skill to like kick a puck in, and it's not like all of a sudden players are going to be opting to do that instead of using their stick. Like it's
Yeah, you have way more control of your stick, which is not also keeping you balanced, like versus having to use your skate. So I agree there. Yeah, and I do think there would be something to, as far as skill wise, to have your skate one way and then you sort of just twist it without kicking, or kicking up. Like you just twist in a way that it gives you enough power to kick it in. Like I think
Right. I mean, you're
there's
allowed
skill
to
for
angle your
that.
skate currently as long as like you don't kick while the puck's hitting your skate.
Right. So that's kind of what I'm. Well, so
You say
are you
you can
saying
kick out.
are you saying under the current rules, if the puck is not moving at all, and then
Oh.
you kick it like you kick it sideways like that, that's allowed, or no, it isn't?
No, I'm just saying if the puck's coming towards you, you can turn your skate to the right angle to let it like bounce off
Yeah,
and
yeah. So that I think that's fine, and I'm thinking if I was to allow a type of kicking, it would be the way that I described,
yeah.
which I think would be I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I do agree with you that it can be difficult for some reason. Like I feel like it's very easy for me to tell what a distinct kicking motion is, but apparently it's very hard for the officials
And
to
with
really
goal
get that.
interference and all those calls, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just distinct kicking. Like distinct is the word that really gets me. It's like, yeah, you really have to firmly believe at like a first glance that yeah, he kicked that puck.
But it seems like when they review it, it's any form of kicking motion at all.
Yeah, right.
Same with like
They're
Bergeron
looking
had a
for any
goal
excuse.
taken away that like the shot went off his glove and then like his glove had barely moved, like oh he punched it in. Which brings up another question, like well like gloves, batting in with your gloves, like should that stay? I feel like you should be allowed to head the puck in.
That
This happened
happened.
like once or twice. It's like why not?
That happened. I think last season, or maybe 2 seasons ago. I think it was a Senators player. It might have even been a rookie. And yeah, it went off their head. It was obviously in weird NHL, and and they obviously disallowed it because it's against the rules. But it's like
But why?
the only reason I can think of is that they don't want people swinging their heads and getting another reason to cause a concussion. Like,
Yeah.
do they really think that a player would opt to use their head more than like their stick? Like, I guess if you can't raise your stick that high up,
Well, yeah, because
maybe
that's high sticking if you're
yeah.
that above the
So
crossbar.
I guess if you wanted to knock the puck down with your head and then kick it uh
Right.
to your blade, but I guess that would be allowed though, right? Because you're not headbutting it you're
I
just
think so.
headbutting it onto the ice.
Yeah. Also, it was Colin White for the Sens 4 years
Mm.
ago.
So not a rookie.
Um, but yeah, even like going like punching it in, I feel like I guess maybe you punch someone in the face or whatever. It's like, well, it's not like hockey players aren't used to that.
That
But that's more of like there's many times where players would try to do that because like
yeah, I
it's
think
different than
so.
kicking.
I
That one makes sense.
I'm not
But
surprised that punching is just yeah. You just want to make sure that the focus is on using your stick and sometimes your body to get the puck. It's not like we're fighting out there and the puck happens to be there and oh, maybe we can score
I'm
a
just
goal every
saying,
once in a while.
I think they should allow you to head the puck into the net.
It would be really fun. I don't know, just because of the whole swinging your head around sort of thing. Just especially at those speeds, like if someone really tries to do some crazy
They have
play where,
helmets on.
like yeah, like say
It's no
somebody
different than
flips a puck
soccer.
up and they head it in, they whip around with their neck. I don't know. I mean, I think
As
it's
far as
moot
rule changes
anyways.
go, I feel like that's one of the less extreme ones.
They'll never change that. I feel like.
No, they won't. But I can dream.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And so I didn't actually know this, but this is part of the rule too. Is a kicked puck that deflects off the stick of any player, excluding the goalkeeper's stick, shall be ruled a good goal. So
Yeah, it just can't go directly in.
yeah. So that I wasn't really like I don't maybe if I saw it I would be like okay that seems fine, but in my head like I didn't really click for me because you don't see
Same
that
with
very
a
often.
high stick. So, well, as long as if your stick is above the crossbar but still below shoulder height, because if it's above shoulder height, then it's just wave dead. But um, if it's above the crossbar and you deflect it and it goes off someone in, it's the same thing where it is a goal because it didn't lead directly to a goal.
Right, right.
But actually, I don't know about shoulder height because normally like the play goes on until your team touches it. So if it's above shoulder height and hits the other team and in, I'm not actually sure if that's a goal.
My guess would be no, because they would have blown the play dead once it hit the. Well, we'll have to get back to you.
It's only a dead play if your team touches it next. Otherwise, it's just same with like a hand pass outside of the defensive end. As long as the other team touches it next.
Oh yeah.
You have that thing where like the team that did the hand pass will like sit around the puck just waiting.
Yeah.
And the team like
you're right.
refuse to touch it. So yeah, I don't know.
That's an interesting question. Which maybe we'll
If
have
it
the
hits the
answer
goalie
to.
and then goes in, it's probably okay. But if it goes directly in,
I don't know.
Speaking of the rule book, I just learned on the 32 Thoughts podcast they were talking about this. I guess someone probably asked this question, but because I forget, I remember what it was. I think it was in the Avalanche game. Maybe there were two high sticks called, and they were both ruled double minors, but there was no blood, and which, I mean, that's generally what is considered injury, but apparently anything that's an injury can result in a double minor. But what Jeff Merrick brought up was if the referees miss a high stick, but a linesman calls it, it has to be a 4-minute penalty. That's a weird rule that I've never heard of.
Have you ever seen that happen before? Have you even seen a linesman call a high stick before?
No, I'm sure they would never. Like they wouldn't want to. Like if the refs miss it, they're like, "Oh, I guess it wasn't a high stick."
Yeah,
That's what-
the linesman will just be like, "Yeah, I didn't see anything
right.
either. I definitely wasn't looking at that guy totally whacked that other guy right in the face. That never happened because I don't want to call out my referees."
Right.
Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I was right. Like, I was right there. And if I had seen something, or if something happened, I would have seen it. It's like, dude, sorry.
There was also some weird like rule attached to that where it's like if a high stick leads to a fight, and maybe in the linesman calls it, then it's only a 2, or like there's like weird like multiple steps to these rules. But
Yeah,
there's
like
something
some
to do with a high
qualifiers.
stick leading to a fight as well
That's
that like
interesting.
changed how it was called. But, yeah, I mean I keep talking about reading through the rule book, but yeah, there's probably I bet if you read through it, you'd be like, there's all of these, not all of these, but there's a few of these things that like just don't get called ever.
Yeah.
Penalties or rules.
Like, there is a lot of content to have to know as an official, and it's like, yeah, some of these niche things you may honestly forget that they are part of the game because of how infrequently they're called. But like, I don't know if Dean, you're aware. Well, you probably are, about the 1-point safety in football.
I feel like it sounds familiar. I couldn't tell you what it was.
Yeah, so it is possible to score 1 point in a NFL game, not an extra point, just on its own. So, and it's pretty, obviously it's very rare. It's never happened in the NFL. I believe it happened once in college football, and it's a very niche rule that you probably wouldn't think about, especially as a fan. But even like some of the referees, like they might call that wrong because of the unique scenario required. Which, in order to do it, Team A, they just scored a touchdown and they're kicking their extra point. Team B blocks the extra point or causes themselves to get the ball, and then they run it all the way down to the other end for safety. Like basically, they get tackled in the opposite end zone on the other side of the field, and then it's a safety.
Well, the other team would have to recover it back, right?
So
they block the field goal and create the turnover to return it all the way, but then turn it over at the end zone that they were about to score at. The other team recovers, and it's a safety.
Yeah. So okay, and there's another
also,
way.
You can't. If the ball was like in the end zone when they picked it up, then it wouldn't be a safety. They have to come out and then back in.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Just
So
US has
that's
never
what.
happened.
So okay, that's the way for you to get 1 point on the board, like on your own, if you had never scored any points. But the other way to score 1 point safety, which is the way that it actually happened in the college football game, is that the team who initially scored the touchdown recovers it. Like say team B who blocked the field goal, they fumble or they get tackled in the end zone. For whatever reason the block or the I don't know how it happened, but yeah, there was a block that resulted in a tackle in the end zone. So the team who was kicking the extra point basically got the extra point anyways.
I
So
see.
and the whole reason that I know this niche rule is because of
Origami.
Scorigami.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, that's the only reason you would know this.
That's the only reason I would know, and so that's what makes scoring 1 point as the only point on the board so incredibly impossible. But it is technically possible. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, what we're talking about as far as Scorigami, it's this, and I know we're talking about football here, but it's this concept developed by John Boys and the Secret Base group. They're pretty popular on YouTube about all of the unique scores in the NFL because it's like the way that points can be scored is so different. There's a lot of different combinations, and so they've been tracking first time scores for a while now. I don't remember when the concept first started, but it's been going on for a few years now, like probably 7 or more. I can't remember. So one of the things I like to root for, along with my Bills, is root for new unique scores that have never happened before in the league. We've already had like 4 or so, I think, this season, and they could still happen in the playoffs, but you never know. A lot less games. So yeah, there's a whole 1 point column where like the losing team only scored 1 point, which would have to happen on a safety, a 1 point safety, and then they score no other points. So with the rarity of the 1 point safety on its own, it's probably never ever gonna happen. But it's the NFL, so you really can't say for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I have it up right now. It's cool. I didn't know they had like the numbers for like the most common score is 20 to 17. It's happened 290 times since they started doing it.
Yeah, so they have the first. If you click on any tile, that's already had a score. Has the first score that's ever happened for that, and then the most recent.
1944, December 24th, 2023.
Christmas Eve.
Titan.
Which score was that one?
20 to 17.
Oh, most recent. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the most recent for 20 to 17.
And yeah, so there are some impossible scores with that, obviously, because you can't score 1 point without the other team having at least scored a touchdown, because that's the only scenario. Like if it's a blocked field goal, I don't think it can work that way. So that's why you can only have 6-1 or 8-1 and on. Those are the only blocked out ones. So just a little fun thing if you haven't heard of that. Obviously, the NHL couldn't do anything like that unless you got some really, really high scores. Because
someone actually, I just Googled NHL Scorigami, and someone posted a Reddit like a picture from 6 years ago. So NHL score distribution through 2017, November 3rd. And you have, it's like a color gradient too to show the most common is 4-3.
4-3. I was gonna guess 3-2.
So I'll send you this. Cut off the title a little bit.
I'd imagine there aren't any missing scores.
Well, there were some. Oh, because that's the way they did losing team and winning team. Okay, so it's a little different, but yeah. Yeah, like the losing team has never.
Well,
Yeah,
there's
okay.
what is this? 11-8 has never happened. I'm trying to see how to read this.
Yeah, I'm also trying to. Well, because like all these bottom white tiles. Oh, because you can't score the
Yeah.
bottom ones. You can't score less or more goals as the losing team.
Then the winning team. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have, I guess, all these ties like along the diagonal.
Yeah. 0-0-1-1. So, yeah, it looks
What was
like there
the
are a
game?
couple.
What was the Sharks score? 10-1, 10-0?
Uh, 10-1 or 10-2.
Yeah.
Or didn't they? Yeah, they had multiple 10 goal games. I think they were both 10-2, or maybe they were 10-3, or pretty
Interesting
rough.
that for the 11 goal games, it's more common for the losing team to score a few goals.
Yeah.
2, 3, and 4 goals.
So I guess
17 goals, huh?
yeah, I know that's crazy.
17-3.
17-3. I wonder when that was. Probably a long time ago.
Or the 16-0.
Oh man, that's brutal. Yeah, that
Oh,
those I feel like those
oh,
super
wait.
inflated scores are from like the 30s.
There's a. I scrolled down. There's a second thing.
Oh, a second thing, everyone, hold your horses.
I'm gonna have to leave these up on screen for a while. And sorry to the audio listeners. Sorry,
Yeah.
Sandra and E. You'll have to open your Spotify and look at this. Um. Oh, because the one's a log scale and this one's a linear scale.
Hmm.
That really shows the.
It's
Oh, here
basically
we go.
it's the same
3-2.
information.
Maybe we're right. No, it is 3-2.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, I was reading it. It's just it's weird the way it's set up.
Well, wait. Or is it four? Yeah, I don't know, cause the cubes, like which
They go well. The
is it a top
bottom.
box or
Well, look at where 0-0 is.
yeah.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's 3-2. See, it's confusing. It's not just me.
Yeah, I don't like how this person created this graph.
It was posted on r/hockey, not r/data is beautiful. So.
That's yeah.
Oh wait.
Another development.
Oh wait. Um. Then someone commented saying that the axes make this hard to read. Besides that, it's super cool. And then they said edit OP delivered, and then they linked to the fixed version.
Oh, well,
Wait, this
we can
looks
redeem ourselves.
just in the. We'll use for the actual thing, but the numbers are just in the middle instead of on the bot, like on the lines.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was hoping for, because I'm like, I don't know which number this correlates to, if it's the bottom one or the top one. So yeah, it is 3-2 then is the most frequent score.
I'm just gonna, while I have them open, I'll send you
That's
these
fun.
screenshots, or these will be the official screenshots that our viewers will.
So I guess the first score on here possible that has not been scored would be 9-9.
Well, there's no ties anymore, so.
So yeah, that one's pretty much dead.
Well, until they go back to 10-minute overtimes with a tie.
Yeah, well, we'll see. 11-8 apparently has never happened. Yeah, I mean, we're really getting up there, like 12-6 and 12-7. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know about that
Well,
happening
because
in the modern
especially
era.
like, the score 10 or 11 goals as we've seen this year. The other team probably not gonna get 8.
Yeah, like they just can't. Both teams cannot sustain that amount of offense and not have a good enough NHL level defense to do something about it. Like, yeah, it's just not gonna. I mean, you never know. But we have actual goaltenders now who wear equipment and have actual technique. So I think that would be pretty rare, even on a really bad night. For both of them, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to find. I'm like looking for the highest scoring games recently, but it's just showing the highest scoring games by a team.
Yeah, you want the most total goals,
Yeah.
which probably isn't something that's regularly searched for.
Highest scoring. Oh, Reddit again. Let's go. Highest scoring NHL game
They
since
know what they're doing.
2015. This was a year ago. 9-6 Calgary over Columbus in 2018.
I feel like there was. I know the Detroit and Toronto had a 10-7 game last season, which was insane.
Apparently, the highest scoring Stanley Cup game of all time was in 1905. This didn't make it onto our grid. Ottawa 23 versus Dawson City 2. Ottawa's one-eyed Frank McGee scored 14 goals.
Holy shit.
I feel like this is made up.
Yeah, wait. Who's going to be able to verify that? Like what sources were
It would have been worse
were
except for
posting
the
about it?
17-year-old Dawson goalie who will forever hold the record for youngest player in a Stanley Cup game.
Poor kid was out there to dry.
I feel like someone just wrote a random comment to see if anyone would believe it.
Yeah, I don't know, viewers. Don't take that one too seriously.
How much info do you think I'll find by Googling 1905 Stanley Cup Final? NHL.com. Dawson City made improbable Stanley Cup challenge in 1905.
Oh, did they? Where are they getting this information from, huh? Reddit?
This is Stan Fischler. He's the real deal.
Oh, okay. Stan. We'll see. No shade, Stan. You're cool.
Yeah, this is it. This guy took it from this article.
One Eye Willie scored 14 goals.
McGee.
Mickey.
Including 8 in a row at one point.
Dude. That's not only 2 natural hat tricks in a row, 2 consecutive natural hat tricks, but why don't we just toss in a couple more just for flavor?
Yeah. I'm going to link this article for later.
That's insanity.
Posted in here too.
Of course, how many people do you think were watching that game?
Yeah.
There was no television, and they probably played in like a 2,000 person arena.
It was a 4,000-mile trip between Dawson and Ottawa. To reach destination, the Nuggets had to travel by bicycle, dog sled, dinghy, railroad coach, boat, and finally, a fancy transcontinental train. I sent you this article. I'm going to have to read this.
Oh,
anyway,
my
Stan
goodness.
Fischler, I know you don't listen to Puck Soup, but this was probably years ago. They interviewed Stan Fischler, and he was talking about like hockey back in the day when they had like stick fights where players on ice would just like swing sticks at each other.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
Yeah.
Can you imagine traveling by dog sled and then losing 23-2? That's
Pretty
insane.
crazy.
They're like, well, you know what? Sure, we traveled for the last 24 hours or so, and that probably doesn't have anything to do with the reason why we're getting absolutely shelled right now.
Stan Fischler, so he's
put up a good
91
fight.
years old. He's a historian of hockey. He was a broadcaster and an author of over 100 books, and a professor. He was a broadcaster with MSG, and he won 7 Emmy Awards.
They'll give those to anybody.
How many did Doc win?
So his dad was probably at that game then.
Maybe.
If he's 91. Or was 91. I guess I don't know.
He is
I didn't know when the article was from.
still alive.
All right. Let's go.
Doc's won 9, so don't you
Oh.
worry.
Mike Emmerich. What a guy. I know. I feel like a lot of people did like him, and then just like the haters are like very loud about not liking him. But I liked him. I thought Doc was great.
He brought a good energy to the game.
Oh yeah. He just loved it.
I said we had a lot to talk about, and we've spent the last 20 minutes talking about 1905.
That one was not on the docket.
Neither was Scorigami or
Yeah. So sorry, folks, for
That's what happens when we don't have a guest to reel us back in.
Someone's got to be like, okay, let's stick to the script. I got Senators news to talk about here, buddy.
Yeah.
Don't worry, folks. Senators free episode today. We'll give you a reprieve.
We did talk about the headbutt goal.
Oh, damn. Colin White screwed us again.
Yeah.
How about we talk about the team that the Senators hate the most in the Toronto Maple Leafs? Samsonov. Actually, you know what? Why don't we talk about the more tantalizing one first?
I think Samsonov's the big news in Toronto, right?
Everything's big news in Toronto, Dean.
Yeah, let's talk about what the deal is with Marner signing. I heard that's coming up.
Yeah.
We're really looking forward to that.
So, okay, since I already teased it, Samsonov, he's been recalled today from his conditioning / practice stint with the Marlies, still in Toronto. And Hildeby is back with the Marlies. So, I guess we'll see if it works. I mean, Toronto has been actually playing pretty well lately. They just swept their California road trip. They destroyed the Sharks last night. And so they're surviving with Martin Jones right now, and hopefully Samsonov comes back for them and actually remembers how to play goalie.
And the big news, William Nylander signed to 8 years, $11.5 million AAV. What are your thoughts on that?
92 mil. So clearly he was right in waiting until the season started. I'm sure that wasn't much of a surprise for Brad Treliving. Like, he was, really wanting to get the extension done before the season started, and he probably wasn't all that surprised that Nylander was like, you know what, it's my contract year. I think I'm gonna ball out and I'm gonna make myself some money. And he made himself some money.
Mm-hmm.
So his deal will kick in next year. Same with Austin Matthews. So they're getting some pay raises, and I think I didn't have it loaded what the cap hit of the Big Four is going to be next year.
I can do some math.
Like the percentage.
So we got Matthews at 13.25, and then we got Tavares at 11, so that puts us at 24 and a quarter. Marner has to have an annoyingly, well, I guess until he resigns, annoying number of 10.903.
Yeah.
So let's call that 11. So that puts us at a little over 35. And then Nylander brings us to 40, pretty much 47 million for those four.
And then with Riley too, who's kind of like the fifth piece of the core four. That's another.
Yeah, he's at 7.5.
7.5. So you're at, what, like 54 million, and the cap is what, going to be 84.5 next year.
Something like that.
Or no, they said higher. They said higher.
86
than that,
maybe.
They? Yeah, we talked about it. I know that. It'll be higher, but yeah.
Let's see.
So.
And then for next year, coming off the books, they have Bertuzzi, who I doubt they'll re-sign. Max Domi, probably same deal. And then they have, let's see, Nicholas Robertson, Noah Gregor, Bobby McCann as forwards. They're all on like $800,000 contracts.
Yeah.
Holmberg next year is still getting paid $800,000. Matthew Nyes is still on his entry level, $925 next year, so that helps them. Kelly Yarncrook 2.1, and then David Camps 2.4. So like they're gonna be 60 million on forwards, with like 54 of it being the core four. And then defense, you only have 3 guys signed through next year. You have Morgan Riley, who we talked about, at 7.5, Jake McCabe at 2 million, and Connor Timmins at 1.1. And then you have Liljegren going to be an RFA. You have Giordano UFA. Simon Benoit at RFA, and then William Lagesson, I guess how you say it, UFA.
Yeah, Lagesson.
And then both their goalies are UFAs.
Well, wait, didn't Samsonov just sign a? Oh, you talk about he's probably showing up on the injured reserve still, maybe.
He's 3.5 this year in 2024-25 says UFA.
I thought he signed a 3-year extension.
I don't know. Cat Friendly's never wronged me before.
Maybe it was a 1-year deal then.
Hmm.
I thought it was a 3x3, not a 1x3 or 3.5, whatever. And
Yeah.
then
Anyway, I guess
Martin
going back
Jones.
to the signing itself, I mean, like Toronto was in a tough spot because Nylander had all the leverage, especially after the way he played so far halfway through the year.
Yeah,
Like he's like, well, I imagine it went something like, "Here's the number I want," and he didn't only get 11.5. He also got the big signing bonus. So I think like it's basically buyout proof. Like I think the way it works, I think same with Matthews' contract is you basically get a lump sum of all your money at the start of the year and then get league minimum like through the year because you're
yeah,
getting paid in the signing bonus every year. And then also full no move clause, which it seems like Toronto likes to give out because you have Matthews, Tavares, Marner, Nylander, Bertuzzi even has one. And then even like Domi, Camp, Jan Krug all have modified no trade clauses. Morgan Riley, no move clause. So,
which,
um,
to be
but
fair,
yeah, I
not
mean, I
all of
feel like
those were signed by Tree Living, but some of them were,
yeah, true. But I
including the
feel like
Nylander one.
you can't just let Nylander walk,
Not with the way he's
and go.
playing.
Yeah, like you can't replace that sort of skill.
No.
And I think I heard rumors of they before the year started, or maybe early in the season, they were looking at trading him for if they could get like a top defender, but there weren't really any top defenders available, and even if there were, teams wouldn't want Nylander without knowing what he was going to sign for, because like you don't want to trade for
Yeah,
someone that you might not be able to sign. But I mean, good for him getting paid. It seems like Toronto is the only team that pays their players like the full price. I mean, obviously, Boston's been known in the past to take like players have taken team friendly deals. Um, but I guess once you have someone like Matthews who doesn't, and then Marner doesn't, Nylander's like, well, why should I?
yeah,
Um, it's also funny how these big contracts came out. I think when Marner signed the 10 million, 11 million one, they're like, oh, it's going to reset the market. And then all the other teams were like, that's a lot of money.
no
We're going to
thanks,
sign our guys for less than that.
no
So
thanks.
it's Toronto. So it will be interesting. I mean, I know in the past they've had luck with like, again, having the core players and then just kind of getting a new fourth line every year and just hope they got league minimum and hope they
Yeah,
can do
like,
what they need.
all
So
right, which league min third liner are we gonna get that might work out this year? Like,
right. But I mean, I think it was the right decision. Like again, like I said, you don't want to lose him, but it's just tough because best case he plays to his contract and like overall you get like a B grade for that signing because like yeah, worst case he just is not that good and it fails miserably and like the downside's a lot bigger.
yeah, and this was kind of the. I mean, he still could have signed him, before the end of the year, or whatever, or before the end of the season. Like, it didn't have to happen right now, but this was kind of like the big. Is Tree Living going to do what Dubas never did and break up the core four in some way by deciding, you know what? I don't want to have to tie up all this money to one player, even as good as he is. And they couldn't trade any. They can't really trade anybody else because Marner just had his full no move clause, so he'd have to decide where he wants to go, and he's expressed that he doesn't want to leave. Tavares, you can't really do anything with either because who's gonna pay him that much?
Yeah.
So it's like his only chance was to either trade him at the deadline or not sign him and just let him walk and then use that money elsewhere. But you don't want to let him walk. Like, he's one of the
I
most
think
valuable
Toronto
players.
fans would be way more pissed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm sure the fans are mostly like don't care about the money. I'm just happy that Nylander, who's one of my favorite players and he's amazing, is still on my team.
I mean, I felt like that way about Pasta, but he also got not the 11.5.
No, yeah.
I forget what he got, but like same with McAvoy. Like those signings, I'm like, it's a lot of money, but like I'm happy that I know they're here for a long time. But like at some point, you're like, all right, well that's more money than we thought, and now what are we gonna do? Because half our cap's in 4 guys.
Yeah. And these, of course, these contracts only, like, it seems like they only really matter if your team doesn't win at all at some point. Like,
Sure.
like
If they win the cup while he's signed, no one's gonna care.
it's all gone. Yeah. Like, I don't think people are really talking about Petrangelo's contract anymore. Like, they weren't really talking about it that much. After he signed it, but still, it's like, yeah, doesn't really make much of a difference anymore because they got what they needed out of them, and that's, in the history books. So we'll see if that happens for Toronto or for Boston coming up. Hoping for one of those outcomes, maybe, depending on how Vegas does.
Pasta makes 11.25, so basically the same.
Basically the same, yeah.
I'd say Pasta's another player. Not biased or anything.
I would maybe give the edge to Pasta, but they are both really strong. I think maybe Nylander is a little bit better defensively.
I'd give him that.
So if you value a more all around player who can still generate a ton of offense, I think maybe Nylander's the way to go. They both wear 88, so there's that.
That's true.
So yeah, we'll see what the next few months before the trade deadline look like for Toronto and everybody, and then we'll go from there.
Yep.
And speaking of trades, there was a crazy, unexpected trade that just went down a few days ago. Gauthier, who just won gold at the World Juniors. We will get to that, because we haven't talked about it yet. They were still playing the games when we recorded last week. So Gauthier, Flyers prospect, first round draft pick. He basically got himself out of Philly because he didn't want to go there. He is traded to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for Jamie Drysdale, defenseman, also a first round pick, and a 2025 second round pick. This wasn't on anybody's radar.
No.
Really at all.
After this happened, now you're hearing things about how he didn't report to training camp, or maybe not training camp, like summer workouts or whatever, because he had just been playing hockey, like not World Juniors, but like playing all this other hockey. He wanted to spend time with his family.
It had been a lot of hockey, yeah.
He asked the Flyers if he could like take a week or two off, and they're like they weren't really happy about it, but like they can't force him to go to this.
Yeah.
So he didn't. And then, but yeah, people don't still like even like I don't want to say insiders is the word, like don't really know what caused him to not want to go to Philly. Like, was it really just that where the way they treated him, not like wanting to take a week off or whatever? That seems like kind of a small thing. Apparently he's a Penguins fan.
Yeah, he is.
I don't think an NHL player has ever said, I'm not going to play for this team because I didn't like them growing up. So it's interesting. No one really knows. Maybe it'll come out. The other thing that I found interesting is I didn't know he was born in Sweden, but he played for Team USA.
I did not know that either.
Yep.
That's interesting. I know he did say I think it was after the trade that or maybe the quote came out after the trade that he is not really he said he wasn't sure about the head coach Tortorella, and he said something about Briere too. I can't remember if he said he was like inexperienced or something like that. Like he just wasn't sure about how the management is going. So they said, all right, well, if you're not gonna play for us, we're gonna do everything we can. They called like 20 teams or whatever trying to get the best value for him, and Anaheim answered the call. Pat Verbeek gets a guy that apparently he did want to get in that draft, but
he's a good prospect.
They weren't able to get, because they wanted the guy that they drafted in that round and Gauthier, but they weren't able to make that happen. They weren't able to trade up. So he ends up getting him, and Drysdale gets a new look elsewhere. Break up the Zegras and Drysdale bromance.
Yeah, and I mean, however Gauthier plays, it's going to be like if he plays super well, or actually even if he sucks, I'm sure it's going to be big news. Whether it was like ruin the whole Flyers' potential if he becomes like a big player and could have been on the Flyers, or if he's a bust, then I guess it's not really much of a story. But I mean, yeah, like I said, there's so much drama around this. The other thing I read was there was like a different podcast saying that like someone had mentioned in the Flyers organization that Kevin Hayes' fingerprints are all over this.
Oh,
like
yeah, I did hear about that.
The Flyers, and then Hayes came out and denied it. But just weird overall. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprise. I was like, yo, did you guys see this? Like, this is crazy. I didn't see it right away. It was like a couple hours after it dropped, but I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, he just won the World Juniors. With USA, they win gold over Team Sweden on home ice.
In Sweden,
yeah. Home ice for Sweden. In a pretty dominant game. What was it? 6-2 or 7-2? It was pretty.
Yeah, it was no 7. I think they got the touchdown.
Extra point.
The extra point, yeah.
It's good. So yeah, they looked great. They go 7-0 on the whole tournament. After a close shootout win versus Czechia, in the pools round, and yeah, that draft class, for USA and for Canada, even though they kind of stunk out, still looks great. So good.
Maybe it was
good for them.
6-2.
Maybe could be.
I think it was 6-2. Oh, I'm thinking of the Bruins just scored 7 against Tampa the other day. That's where I was thinking of the extra point.
Gotcha. That's always a fun feeling.
Like, I remember seeing a hockey game recently where there were 7 goals for the team I was rooting for.
I know what happened, and I only root for 2 teams, so...
Exactly. So, like, it must have been the Bruins.
Yeah.
Speaking of young stars, not bad. Connor Bedard is out 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured jaw, so he's placed on IR. Going to miss the All-Star game. Remember there was a story after Chicago won their first game without Bedard. I remember reading that.
Oh yeah.
Now Chicago's up to 9 players on the IR. Remember Taylor Hall's out for the season, and that was a big loss. So.
And it's they're big.
Not like they're trying to compete anyway.
Yeah, I mean, whew, they're gonna get a lot of different players to play for them this year. I think they've picked up some people to help try to roster a semi-competitive group. They picked up Rem Pitlick from Pittsburgh for a conditional 2026 7th rounder. I did not see what the condition was, but it's probably like, if he plays X amount of games, you get them. You get him for free.
Chicago makes playoffs.
Yeah. I feel like they picked up somebody else recently as well, just because they could. I don't know who they're going to send to the All-Star game now, because apparently each team still needs to have a representative. So like, who do they send?
Foligno.
He's out.
Oh yeah.
He's out. Anthony Beauvillier is out. Pretty much, I think, isn't Domi out too? Like pretty much any player that you've heard of that's on the Blackhawks, for the most part, is out.
Connor Bedard, Nick Foligno, Anthony Beauvillier, Andreas Athanasiou,
Yep.
Tyler Johnson, Taylor Hall, Seth Jones, all on the IR.
Like
That's 7.
like those are their players. Like that's pretty much their core. Minus a
You
couple.
send Ryan Donato.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Honestly, Donato, Kurashev. Like you're already getting into it. Like Blackwell.
Nikia Zaitsev.
Yeah.
Jared Tenorti, baby.
Maybe Kevin Korchinski just because he's young. So it's like, send a rookie. He'll have fun for a year. He probably won't get back there. Maybe he would. I don't know. He's a pretty touted prospect. Oh, they picked up Zach Sanford off waivers from Arizona. That's who it was.
Has Mrazek played in All-Star game? I feel like he has.
Maybe when he was with Detroit.
Yeah, in 2013.
That sounds like Detroit era.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could. How many goalies did they? Oh, actually, I got the roster here. Goalies: Jake Ottinger, Cam Talbot, Igor Shesterkin, and Connor Hellebuyck are currently the 4 that have been selected. So maybe they wouldn't be eligible to bring another goal because maybe they have a certain number that they wanted to initially invite. I don't know. Because I know that the vote-ins, there's 12. It's 8 skaters and 4 goalies. So that maybe they want to have 8 goalies and 32. And not 32. It would be. What's it? It's 44 total.
I don't know.
I think. So 12 goalies. Whatever. Anyways.
If you say so.
I don't know. I don't know anything.
Each division have 3? Sure, why not?
Yeah, that's probably. You know what? That sounds good. I'll buy that.
So the other thing I wanted to ask is, do you think? Well, obviously, before the injury, Bedard was basically a lock for the Calder. Do you think the injury affects that at all?
Man. Like, everybody knows that it should be Connor Bedard. You know, it's like
David got injured and didn't get it his year, right?
I'm not sure. That sounds right. Hey,
I know he was injured for a long time.
I think somebody said that.
He got 3rd in voting.
3rd, okay. Yeah,
maybe.
maybe.
Many games
I mean, if he's not playing, it's like, somebody else stepped up, I guess.
Brock Faber.
Yeah.
Who's second in the? I mean, he's been playing great.
I was trying to look at rookie point totals and stuff, but I couldn't find anything on the NHL website. I thought maybe NHL Edge would have a category for rookies, but no, I guess that's not important.
McDavid played 45 games his rookie year. So
okay.
6 to 8 weeks. How many games? That's what, 3 games a week on average?
Yeah,
4 games
that's what
a week?
I'm thinking. So
let's say
18 to 24 games about.
Yeah. So not. I mean, if you're still playing 60 games, that's different than 45.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, he might play with like another fire in him, like once he gets back too. Like he could put up.
He might not be the same. I guess the jaw is not different than other injuries.
Yeah. He could put up like 40 points in 20 games or something at the end of the year, and like, okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, did you have anybody else that you were eyeing as far as potential Calder favorites with him out? I don't really know a ton off the top of my head, to be honest.
Well, so you have Luke Hughes.
Yeah, actually, that's not bad. They love the Hugheses, so I wouldn't be surprised.
And then I guess the other one is Adam Fantilli. Like,
tough to. I feel like it would be tough to give him it this year, just because I feel like he was out for a little bit, but not that long, and it's like
it's Columbus.
What? Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
like I don't know if he's really been having a Calder worthy
Chicago
year.
though. Like, I mean, they're both on bad teams. Kind of how the draft works.
What's Fantilli's point total right now? Do you know?
So I can tell you.
And what's Bedard's / Faber's in comparison? Or Hughes, I guess. We throw them all in.
And Tilly has 24 points in 42 games with a minus 16.
Yeah, I mean, the minus 16, I don't fault him for whatsoever.
Yeah.
But 24 points in
Well,
42
so
games.
Bedard has 33 points in 39 games, minus 22.
Yeah, see, not a factor. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much always going to be the case for for rookies, isn't it? Like they're
Yeah, because your
usually
team's trash.
on a bad team.
Luke Hughes, 38 games played, 23 points.
For a defenseman, I can see it. I can see it.
Also, McDavid was only a minus 1 his rookie year.
Oh damn. They don't. They don't really like to give the Calder to defensemen. I feel like though, sometimes they do. They don't never do it, but
Yeah, well, I feel like if a defender's getting it, well, I don't know. Brock Faber, I feel like might be higher than Luke Hughes, but Faber's played 39 games and has 19 points. He's a +8.
Minnesota hasn't been too great this year, but better than Chicago or Columbus for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. We'll see when Bedard returns and how he looks, and then we'll pretty much we won't know anything, but usually you have a good idea. Not all the time. Sometimes there can be some surprises, but usually you kind of know.
So these two things you had, I didn't know anything about other than what you wrote.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know. You can pick.
Yeah, so we just had the Winter Classic, and I didn't know about this either until Gifford actually sent me the article to this that Sinbin did on Vegas potentially hosting a Winter Classic game relatively soon, because that's one of the things that George McPhee fought for. He's the president of hockey operations for Vegas. He sort of said, okay, yeah, we'll be the road team for the one in Seattle, but we want to have one. We want to host one too. And Bettman, or I think it was Bettman, was like basically said duly noted, like not confirming like, yeah, we'll definitely have you in one, but usually the league is actually pretty good about like following through on these promises. So I'm sure for a lot of other fan bases, they'd be pretty ticked off at Vegas getting another Winter Classic and another outdoor game already when potentially their team hasn't been in a single one or maybe one.
Yeah.
I would like it, obviously. It would be cool. They were talking about what venue options they have in the article, and Allegiant Stadium being one of the more obvious choices, but the sort of problem with that is it's a little too big is kind of what they were saying. Like you could fit a lot of people in that stadium, and a lot of tickets would, like you wouldn't really be able to see anything at a certain
That's always
point.
classics.
I'm sure it is, and I wasn't there at T-Mobile Park this year, so I can't tell you what the nosebleed experience looked like there, but I feel like for that big of a football stadium it might not work. But then they were saying, because the Athletics are supposed to be moving to Vegas, so they were thinking maybe once that the Athletics stadium gets built they could do it there. So I think we're still probably 4 or 5 years out at this point. Like it's not that soon.
I mean, as far as like
But
playing two winter classics close to each other, I mean, the Bruins played 3 years apart. They played in 2010, 2016, 2019, and 2023.
yeah,
So like, obviously they're in the original six. So like,
yeah,
I
exactly.
know like them and like Chicago has had a bunch.
Chicago, yeah, Rangers.
Chicago played in 2017 and 2019
Yeah.
and 2015. So like every other year, Chicago was in it for.
I don't know why the hell they do that stuff. Like, I don't know. It pisses me off as a fan. Just
Same with like
seeing that.
the national television.
Yeah.
Like,
Same teams
Chicago
on the
has like
broadcast.
20 a year, and then you have like Ottawa with 2.
San Jose's like, I don't think we have any nationally broadcast games. Oh, yes, we do, because we're playing Chicago or we're playing one of these other big teams. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, Chicago's been in 4. Did you know they're 0-4?
Wow, I didn't know that.
And the only other team with 4 is Bruins, who are 3-1. Pittsburgh's had 3. St. Louis has a bunch have had 2.
I'm trying to think of, like, I know there's only 3 teams left who haven't played in an outdoor game, but I don't know how many teams haven't played in a Winter Classic.
16.
16? Half the league hasn't played in one yet?
You're in good company now.
Yeah, we are. Well, too bad we lost, but at least we were there. Got some jerseys.
There are only
Had
2
some
other
fun.
teams that have lost their only Winter Classic game, and they've all happened in the 2020s.
Was it the Stars that won that game or the Predators? Preds?
Won or lost?
Won.
Nope, they lost.
Damn,
That's
I
one
was
of them.
gonna say lost, but then I switched it at the last second. That was 2020.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you know what 2024 is. There's only a couple other to
yeah.
know. You probably know what 2023 is.
2022 was St. Louis and Minnesota. Minnesota lost, Minnesota lost.
Yeah, and that was their first one.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 teams that went 0-2 and 1 team that went 0-4, who we already mentioned.
Chicago.
The Sabres and the Flyers are both 0-2.
Oh, Sabres. Yeah, they played Chicago in 2018, I think. No, they didn't, because they both lost. So.
Oh right,
I remember that was.
they played the Rangers.
Rangers. Robin Leonard played in that game.
And then they also played the Penguins in 2008.
That was the Crosby overtime goal or shootout goal, wasn't it?
That was the first one. 2008.
Yeah, they haven't been doing them for that long, so
Yeah.
it's not that surprising that 16 teams, but still, like,
Maybe teams in 26 years.
Maybe they just want Chicago to win one so they can finally stop inviting them.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Could
all right,
be.
really? Another Chicago one, I guess. Whatever. You know what?
Ratings have been down too.
I guess I feel like they advertised it pretty well this year.
In the first few years, it was getting 4 million views, basically all the way until 2015 was 3.5, and you're getting 3, 2.5. Big little bump in 2019 because everyone loves the Bruins, and then 1.9, 1.4, 1.8, and they don't have the ones for this year yet.
Maybe because we're just so used to it.
Well, because now you have the
Stadium
Heritage
Series
Classic
and Heritage
the Stadium
Classic.
Series.
Yeah.
And the Heritage Classic is every other year.
Yeah, they don't do well. I feel like they have a couple years where they've done them multiple years in a row.
Maybe I just remember hearing that there's not going to be one like next year or this year, and there'll be one next year.
And the Heritage Classic is almost exclusively Canadian teams. There's only been one American team that's played in one, and that's Buffalo, who played Toronto because they basically live in Canada. So, yeah, I think it's probably going to be a while before we get another American team, if we ever get another one. I don't know. I guess you could do a Vancouver, Seattle, maybe.
Yeah.
Or Winnipeg, Minnesota. They're kind of close. That's about it, I feel like. Not a lot of heritage. Well, there's heritage with Seattle, I guess, with the Metropolitans and stuff. They kind of did that with the Winter Classic, too, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it'd be hard to get like classic jerseys on new teams, but I mean, they did a good job.
Try to make it, look like, classic, even if it's not.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to just like come up with one from scratch.
Yeah. And I did see, I don't really know a ton about this story, but apparently the Kraken are getting sued for like copyright infringement with their Winter Classic jersey, like saying that it's infringing on the logo for the Metropolitans, I guess. but it's not the same logo. Like, I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I don't know how legit it is. It seems kind of ticky-tack for me. Like, teams do this stuff all the time where they borrow elements from, other franchises and things. Like, the Minnesota North Stars colors and things. I mean, I guess that's just colors. It's not a logo, but again, the logo that they used is not the same as the S logo that the Metropolitans used. So,
yeah,
kind of weird.
it just depends how stingy you want to be about copyright stuff.
Yeah, which this isn't a copyright podcast, so I think we'll end it there.
Yeah.
Did you voted for the All-Star fan vote, right? That was your actual vote?
Yeah, I was like, eh. Well, then I did. You can like vote 10 times. So I hit the button to vote 10 times, and then I know you can do it every day, but I don't care enough to actually like.
Yeah, I
go
haven't
and
actually
vote
voted
every day.
myself because I haven't decided really who I'd want, and two, I don't feel like it because every time I try to do it on the app, it like gives me an error, and then I can't even do anything.
Sounds like the NHL.
Yeah, I'm just not bothering with it. But we can throw up Dean's screenshot of the players that he selected. I don't think you'll be too surprised.
Unbiased.
Yeah. Gotta have
And then
both
another
the
discussion
goalies.
I was listening to on a podcast was so the way we talked about this the other week, how it's 8 players for the skills competition. They're doing the whole thing, and they were talking about if you're the NHL, having to pick 8 players is going to be really hard because, like, well, I guess now Bedard's out, so that's one less
Free space.
free space.
I
But
have,
like, so I'm just going down this list I have. I think it's sorted by team name. So I'll put people that I think should be in it. So Pastrnak, McKinnon, McDavid, Kaprizov.
he might. Well, actually, I don't know if he's still hurt. He'll probably be back.
All right, well, let's do like the locks. So
Yeah.
Kucherov, Eichel, Matthews, and then you also have the fan vote. So like Marner's probably going to be in there, and that's already 8. So like then you're leaving off. Like, I don't know.
Like,
Leaving
would you
off.
put Crosby in there?
Right, you're leaving off Brady Tkachuk,
Yeah.
Jack Hughes. I don't think I mentioned Quinn Hughes. Like, yeah, I don't know.
There's
So
a
that's the
lot
biggest
of
issue. Like,
there's a lot of
star
superstar players, and some of them are definitely going to be excluded. Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, and I mean, well,
weak.
either way, people are going to complain about their favorite players getting snubbed. So, but it does help with Bedard not going now. So it's again one more spot for the 8.
I just wanted to see because I thought that it was so it's 12 players with 8 events.
Okay.
So you got a little more wiggle room there.
Mm.
But yeah, there are probably well, I don't know if they'll keep the 12 players exclusive to one per team, or if they'll do Marner if he gets in and Matthews or Nylander and Matthews or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, for entertainment factor, they probably would like.
I don't know. I think he's put the best players in. That's enough. That's entertainment enough.
Yeah, I think so too. So I'm actually pretty like I'm usually kind of like meh about. And it is in Toronto. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, they'll probably have like 3 of them then.
Right.
4-4. Yeah. Maybe they just throw in Samsonov for no reason. They're like, yeah, we'll give him the goalie too. The terrible goalie that's been bad all year. But wait, what was I saying? I had a point about something.
One player from each team in the
I
good
was
sign.
saying how I'm excited to watch because I normally am kind of meh
Oh yeah,
about the All-Star break and the festivities, but
I'm excited to see the draft
yeah,
again.
like the recent changes with the draft and the way that they're structuring the skills competition sounds really fun to me.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
me too.
Early February. That's the next big hurdle in the regular season, and then we'll hit the trade deadline. I think it's March 8th. I want to say, um, and then that's pretty much it until playoffs. As far as big milestones, we're close to halfway through the season.
Going quick.
Not quite. We're not quite there yet, but we're nearing halfway through.
Are we? Well, are we not halfway yet?
I'm just thinking in terms of games played for the teams. Like maybe
Bruins are at 40. Yeah. Well, Lightning are at 42.
okay, so we might be
Over half
like
their game.
close to calendar year or calendar wise halfway through.
Yeah. I
But
think the majority of teams have not played at least 41 yet.
yeah,
So, like, by the time this podcast is out, we're probably gonna be halfway through.
right. We got a couple days lag. Today's Wednesday, so we got 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that right.
Good job.
I can count to 4.
And I guess we should also mention that Panarin won't be there, not because he got snubbed, but because his wife is expecting their second child. So he said he didn't want to go. And I know the NHL has been cracking down on like if players don't want to go, like you have to have a good reason. You can't just be like, I don't want to go, just pick someone else. Like you have to actually, which again, this is a valid reason, but I know players also get injured this time of year.
Yeah. Ow, my pinky. I can't go. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
be chilling in the Poconos for a week or
Mm-hmm.
so. Don't bother me.
Yep.
I got a coconut drink and a little umbrella. No, I think that's probably valid. And so yeah, they have Shesterkin right now, and they'll probably get Zibanejad, I would guess, as a vote in too, because he's had a pretty great year. Panarin has had a really good year too, which is a bummer. And yeah, Bedard not being there. We'll see about Jack Hughes because he's out right now. I think he'll be back by then. But because he was one of the ones also selected, I feel like there was maybe one other player that's out right now that that got selected. Maybe I'm thinking of Kaprizov. I don't know how serious his injury was.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Who else would be out?
And we've got a couple of first timers. We usually have some, so I'll just quickly for the sake of it, Frank Vetrano is the selection for Anaheim. Thank God they didn't pick Jamie Drysdale. Let's see. We got Elias Lindholm for Calgary. Not a ton of options there. It would have been Bedard's. Boone Jenner. Not too surprised that Boone Jenner's first appearance. But again, Columbus didn't really have a lot of choices. Maybe they could have picked Fantilli, I guess, but
I think it's also just a nod to like, hey, like you've been a good player for this league for so long. Like,
captain. Yeah.
here's a reward. I mean, like some of the superstars, like we just mentioned, with like faking injuries or, well, maybe not faking, but like trying to avoid the All Star game, they get sick of it. But like I'm sure someone like Boo Jenner would really appreciate the
The opportunity.
opportunity.
Yeah. That's good for him. This is Ottinger's first one. Sam Reinhart, notorious on the Bread Loves Hockey podcast. If you've watched one of our previous episodes where I mistook him for Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett?
This is his.
Or did I mean to say Reinhart? Which one of the one that's doing well this year? Way different seasons so far this year. Oliver Bjorkstrand for Seattle this is his first appearance. I think that's well deserved. and Robert Thomas's first appearance for St. Louis. So I think that's probably a good pick too.
I'd say so.
So that's fun. So this just came out earlier today, where Bettman had a conversation with Corey Perry. He's still available. I guess he was never, like, the league never said that he had to talk with Bettman before he'd be able to be signed by another team. They never said that. But Corey Perry apparently reached out to Bettman to have the talk about it, and so I guess Bettman gave him the okay. So he's a UFA at this point, and he just has to sign with a team before the trade deadline in order to be eligible for the playoffs. So that's something of note. We'll see if any teams come calling. He was having a good year for Chicago. Of course, it would be pretty funny if Chicago terminated his contract, and then once they got the okay from Bettman, they're like, all right, well, we don't have anybody right now. You want to come and you could be our all-star too.
Yeah. Do you think anyone signs him?
It's the NHL. Somebody's gonna pick him up. I feel like, one of those very tantalizing names just out there. It's like, yeah, it's like a brand, and it's like, yeah, we want to have this guy, even if he did something that apparently wasn't illegal, but and didn't affect any family members or whatever. I don't know, the whole
players'
spiel.
moms.
Yeah, players' families. It sounds at least like what he's telling the media and telling the league is that he's making steps towards some sort of recovery from maybe alcoholism or some sort of struggle with alcohol. So hopefully he's making the right steps, and he really is trying to just have a last hurrah before he officially retires. I feel like somebody's got to pick him up.
I agree. Like some playoff team that's like, we could use some more grit on our bottom six here. And like, also, I mean, as far as signing a player for their ability and like just taking the flack for whatever PR, like this is lower on the list of like the PR wasn't that bad. At least what's been released isn't that bad. I think Chicago's just getting ahead of it because they can't afford any other PR.
Yeah, exactly.
Like any negative PR at all.
They're not taking any chances.
But yeah, I mean, you'll have good players that players or teams sign just because they're a good hockey player. I know the Bruins signed that one young guy that like bullied that kid or whatever. Got so much pushback, and like, all right, he's gone. Like, so I mean, that could happen. I just don't see it happening with Corey Perry. I think like,
I don't think so
again,
either.
from what's been released, it doesn't seem as bad from a PR standpoint. But also, it's
because
like, is it worth any PR backlash if it's like a mediocre player? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I think he's good enough. His benefits your team outweighs the negative PR that you're gonna get.
Yeah, probably. And I don't think, like, up until the news of him being allowed to be signed just came out, which apparently is non-news since he was already allowed to do so, like, nobody was talking about what happened anymore. Like, talked about it for a couple days, and then, you get on to the next juicy NHL details or rumors or whatever. So, yeah, I don't really think it was big enough to, at least as far as what we know about the situation, I don't think it's bad enough to not sign him. It's just as long as he still has the hockey talent to play, someone will pick him up. I don't know.
Even with this news coming out, it's not like people are all talking about it again.
No, not really. Yeah, I'm usually pretty keen on, like, if a topic is, like, regularly coming up in my feed, but the only people I saw really tweeting about it were the insiders who were informing us about the meeting, and that's kind of it.
And then the other thing on this topic is we're about a month into, or it's been like about a little over a month since the incident happened, and he has 60 days to file a grievance if he still wants to do that. And I remember talking about when it happened, like he might not want to do that and get all this pushback, but if nothing comes out of him saying like he talked to Bettman and he's ready to sign with the team, if no one cares, then maybe he'll think about signing a grievance. Again, who knows? Again, I think the NHLPA would want to push it because they don't want the precedent of teams being allowed to just terminate contracts off of whatever disturbance may happen off the ice. So still have time to see if that comes to fruition.
Yeah, so and that is Perry's decision to file the grievance. Like the NHLPA can't do that on behalf of him, I assume.
I believe so, but one of the articles, this was from 4 weeks ago. NHLPA considers Corey Perry grievance even if player declines. So I don't know how that works. I figure you have to have the player on board, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know how much power the Players Association has in this situation or in any situation.
So I guess Friedman was saying that the NHL, this was again like on their podcast a month ago, that the NHLPA is thinking about filing anyways, but that would be unprecedented territory and a very big deal within the association, as they're supposed to work with and for the players, not against their wishes.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be a pretty big power play, big move. It would probably cause a lot of backlash.
Yeah, in 2018, Patrick Berglund's contract was terminated by Buffalo, and they ultimately never pushed forward because the player chose not to be involved. So if Perry doesn't want to, I imagine it won't happen.
Probably not. They don't really want to stir the pot over this, especially if they know something more about it than we do.
That too.
Like they might be like, okay, yeah, it was probably fair. So we'll keep you updated. Yeah, and I don't think you saw either. Well, you probably heard about the Fleury news.
Yeah.
So Fleury played. He not only played his 1,000th NHL game, but he also ties Patrick Waugh for the second most NHL wins, 551, I believe. He still hasn't gotten his 552nd to become untied, I believe. But still, very impressive. He's still playing. He's had some really good plays recently. I don't remember if we talked about the game where he was going off for the sixth attacker, and then he dives back to save a near goal, and then the team turns around and scores and ties it up.
Yeah.
Which I think that was the game that got him the win. I can't remember if it was, but I think it was. So yeah, he's still playing really well. The team's still having a ton of fun with him. They've been joking about how old he is and stuff, but that he's playing like a younger man. Good for him. And on the Wild goalie front too, Jesper Wallstedt, who was their first round pick, I think in 2020, I want to say. He's gonna be making his NHL debut. Actually, he made it right now. I think they're playing right now, or maybe the game's over by now. They're playing the Canadiens. So he's been like pretty high as far as like overall goalie prospects in the league. He's like usually like first or second around there with like Askarov and maybe Dustin Wolf, a couple other guys. So be interested to see how he ends up doing, and how long he stays up with the Wild, the Minnesota Wild, I guess, because their affiliate is the Iowa Wild.
Also, while we're talking about career achievements, Brad Marchand just passed Rick Middleton for 5th place among point leaders for the Bruins. He now has 899. So he's there with basically all these other players that have their jersey retired. Well, Bergeron is in third. He will be retired. Johnny Busick, Ray Bourque, Phil Esposito, Rick Middleton, Bobby Orr.
Those are some big names.
And then Pasta, Wayne Cashman's number 8, David Krejci's 9, and then Pasta just tied Ken Hodge for 10th, which I was like, already?
That's crazy.
He hasn't been in the league a while, but he's at 674. So he's now the 10th leading point getter for the Boston Bruins of all time. It's crazy to me.
Wow. Shows how long we've been watching the league and how talented Pastrnak is.
And apparently Torrey Krug is 39. Who knew?
Torrey Krug, shout outs.
Um,
So, how do you feel about Marchand getting 1,000? I know we talked about it. You thought that he was going to get not quite there, but close. How are you feeling now that he's at almost 900? Still about the same?
Not the same. He's gonna get close, but not get there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like not between 980 and 1,000.
Damn, that would be tough.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, the other thing I just thought of, since we were talking about halfway through the season, Shane Pinto will be back soon.
Oh my gosh, Shane Pinto. We're talking about the Sens again.
41 game suspension. The Senators have played less games than most teams because they went to Europe. They have only played 36, but in 5 games, well, I guess 6 games, Shane Pinto will be back. So the season is flying by.
Maybe Shane Pinto is the savior that the Sens need to rally and miss the playoffs nearly.
Yeah. Well,
get a terrible draft pick.
These bottom teams will go on runs at the very end of the season when it doesn't matter, and when teams are playing their AHL call-ups because they don't want players getting hurt before the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, and they're like, next year we got this.
It's like, no,
Summer of Pierre.
You probably don't got it.
Yeah.
You've been lied to. Sure, they won, and that's good that they won. At least they can beat these AHL guys. That's not always a guarantee. But yeah, probably
the Bruins beating the Capitals with their full AHL team before the playoffs one year. Good time.
That's crazy. Just
maybe it was a 1-goal game. I don't know if they won, but it was a competitive game. Yeah.
It's I don't even know who these guys are. That's never good.
There's only one other thing on our list. Well, in the top section, we might as well just mention that Patrick Waugh, this came out today, apparently has turned down 2 coaching job offers from Western Conference teams.
Yeah, and I saw somebody, this was on Reddit, I saw it, which also, we didn't talk about this either, but I saw this on Reddit, the Patrick Waugh thing. Somebody had a list of the teams that changed, what the heck is it? The teams that changed coaches in between that time in the Western Conference, and there weren't that many options of who realistically it would have been. I think it was maybe Calgary, maybe Nashville, I think, changed coaches. Minnesota, but it's they kind of thought that they were going to be picking up Hines for a while. I guess that was kind of a badly kept secret. Berube was also another one. It's they probably weren't going to replace him. So, be interesting to see if he ends up going somewhere else, if another coach in the Eastern Conference maybe gets fired this year. If the Senators stick with what's his face? The guy they just hired. Oh my gosh.
Who, the Wild?
No, the Senators. The old guy.
I think it's a very forgettable name.
Jacques Martin.
Oh. I thought you were talking about Steve Stais.
No, that's the general manager.
Yeah.
Oh, they just actually promoted him to president of hockey operations too. They made some management changes. I don't want to talk about the Senators again.
Owen will appreciate it.
Yeah, right. What was the other? There was another thing on. Oh, the other thing that I saw on Reddit, which I didn't know this, but apparently the NHL has an official Reddit account that they regularly post Reddit posts. Yeah, and so one of them was that the Winnipeg Jets have still kept their streak going of allowing 3 or less goals. They're now at 30 games. Which is pretty nuts, and they keep winning too. The record, by the way, is 35 games from the 2014-15 Minnesota Wild. And somebody in that thread said, and the team that they're playing, if they got there to break the record, would be the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, like, sounds pretty classic Leafs. If that happened, that they would be the team that would cause the record to be broken. It's incredible. I posted in our group chat. I was like, I don't think the Winnipeg Jets are gonna lose another game this season.
Right.
They have just been firing on all cylinders. I don't have a bad thing to say about them right now.
Well, you should just wear your Jets jersey for the next game. That way they'll lose.
Yeah, I'll have it on next time to say that the streak has finally been broken. Now that we've brought it up too many times on the show.
That's why like people are commenting like, "Don't talk about my team." Like, we don't want anyone talking about it.
We're a small team. We don't even have our own airport. Don't talk about us, please.
Yeah.
We'll see how they do. I mean, they're still first in the league right now, aren't they?
Maybe. I keep opening this and then the standing and then closing it again.
Oh,
I think I'm done looking at it.
They are first in the league, 58 points in 40 games played. Wow. Do you know the top two teams, Winnipeg and Vancouver? Both teams, I think people were thinking either miss the playoffs or fringe playoff teams heading into the off season.
Yeah.
So you never really know, do you? Of course, then there's the Boston Bruins.
Well, technically, if you're looking at points percentage, we're second.
That's true. Points percentage, that damn points percentage. That gets me every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But points percentage doesn't matter at the end of the year because everybody's played the same games.
True.
Except for the bubble. Because that caused the Sabres to not make the bubble playoffs and Montreal to get in because Montreal had better points percentage because they played.
I think Buffalo would have made it to the finals
4
too.
games. Well, no, that was the first bubble where they beat the Penguins in the play-in round, and then they lost to Philadelphia.
Right.
So, yeah. And that would have ended the Sabres' playoff streak, too. Or playoff drought, which is ongoing and looks like it's going to be going to 13. Sandroni was just at their game where they lost 5-2 to the Kraken.
It sucks.
I saw him on TV. He had some good seats.
I feel like I was thinking this the other day. Like, if you want to get on TV, you just have to sit behind the coach because, like, any penalty or whatever, they pan to the coach.
Yeah.
Like, the people behind the coach, like on that glass, you probably get the most TV exposure.
I would say so. Yeah, or maybe behind the net on a really big goal scoring game. Like
true, but it's not like zoomed in.
No,
like,
but
like
you can usually get their reactions. Like
true, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, you really couldn't pick out any of his features, but I knew what shirt he was wearing, and so I was like, "Oh, there he is! I saw him for half a second. There he is." Because he was in like the 9th row, I think. So you're not like close enough to the glass during regular play for most of the time, where you can really pick out any defining features.
Right.
And they also lost pretty bad, so that was a tough one.
Yeah.
Still fun though. I mean, even when I'm disappointed, which is most of the time, I still have fun. It's just so much fun to see in-person hockey. Actually, Dustin and I are going to the Clarkson versus RPI game on Saturday.
Nice. I just got an email for like the cold out, gold out. I'm like, that'll be fun to go to someday.
Yeah, I would probably do that at one point. Not this year, but
no, some year.
Maybe another year.
Well, I've got nothing else to add to this podcast.
Me neither. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to subscribe or do the
Oh, I
do
didn't even check our
stuff you
phone
gotta
line
do.
that no one called.
Oh, the phone line. Hold up,
But yeah,
folks.
since nobody called, also if you made it this far, give us a call 720-507-5496 or email breadhockey@gmail.com, which I am gonna check right now for any more advertisements or spam. Nothing.
We've
All
got
right.
we've
See you.
got
Bye.
YouTube. We've got YouTube comments. We got DM me on Twitter. So
Yeah.
many ways to get a hold
Spotify.
of us. Yeah.
Like us on Spotify,
Yes,
Google
please.
Podcast, Apple Podcast.
Even though Google Podcast is going away in like a month or two.
April 2nd, my birthday.
There you
I don't know if
go.
that doxes me, but
We can cut that.
I don't care.
See ya.
Bye.
I'm surprised you still don't have double monitor.
I don't even have a big enough desk for.
How
This
big's
is
your
what- this-
desk? Oh,